welcome. Let's wait for a little bit more, just a little bit, for more people to come. I hope you're gonna enjoy the session. If you have any questions, if you have um, any questions, you can keep them maybe for the end of our session. I'm planning to have a few minutes for us, or you can throw them in the chat. Manish is going to be there and take care of the questions, or you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm going to answer them after the session, maybe tomorrow in the weekend. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my idea and why I'm talking today about micro interactions in Figma. I'm reading now, I think for the second time, Emotional Design. I totally recommend this book. I believe it's very strong in understanding why we are clicking on what we are clicking and why we are taking the decisions that we are taking. Because after all, we are also consumers, we are also clients, we are also users. Based on our emotions, we are acting and reacting. And it says in the book and in different sources also that when a user is going in the app, when a user is going on a website for the first time, the user in a couple of seconds is already having an idea about the website, about the app. Oh, I like it, or I don't like it. Maybe it happens not even, in a subconscious. That happens. That little tiny thought happens, and it's already having like a stamp. Oh, this is cool. This is not cool. Now, what do you decide to show to the user in those first seconds when the user is going on your app or on your website? What are you going to show to the user to have the user there, to have the user click further on? We're talking about, for example, the splash screen. If you are in mobile, now that splash screen has to have something that the user needs, the user wants, or maybe the user doesn't need or want, but you're going to make the user click further on, right? So the way we are going to do this lesson, we're going to talk about micro interactions. The micro interactions is that little tiny animation that makes the user click, makes the user get a feedback, makes the user move forward in the user flow. Micro interaction is the one that is guiding the user. Let's see what's all about, right? Micro interactions in Figma. As we were talking earlier, micro interactions are little tiny small interactive moments in UI that provide visual feedback and guides the user. Now, they enhance the UX by making the product more intuitive, engaging, efficient, and enjoyable. As you see here at the bottom, I just created a couple of them. The micro interactions in Figma are created with component set. We're going to talk very briefly about it. And also they are using triggers. The triggers is, after delay, your component set, the components are going to do something, or for example, this one, the first one is after delay. The second one, toggle button, it's using two triggers, after delay and on click. Also, the third one, we're going to go further on. It has three triggers while hovering or while pressing and on click. For example, only if I'm going over with my cursor, it tells me, the user, hey, something is happening here, right? Because the cursor is doing something. So then if I'm going to keep press, as you see, something yellow happens on the side, a little tiny stroke. And then if I'm clicking, I have the feedback, the confirmation of my action that something good happened, right? And also we have a button that the same is using hovering, pressing, and on click as triggers. Something happens when I'm going with the cursor over, but what if I'm going to keep pressing and on clicking? What happens? Those are micro interactions that are very important for the users, extremely important for the users. It tells to the users, hey, you did something good, or you didn't do, or you didn't make it, or you make it, or we've all been in apps and web pages and stuff. All right, so why they're so important? As we were saying earlier, we were saying that it provides visual cues, it guides the users where to go further on. And for example, talking about guiding the users, on this page I created a really tiny, small micro interaction. As I'm reading through the page, I'm gonna stop with my eyes in the little tiny triangle that is not very, it doesn't take away from my attention, but it tells me, hey, there's something happening here, click further, right? So it guides me for the next page. Reinforce users' actions, communicate a status or state, a feedback or the result of an action, enhance the sense of direct manipulation we're talking about. The user is having the control over their actions, and also help users see the result of their actions. So I'm going to click further on. And as we were saying earlier, you're creating micro interactions with components and component set. Now, if you need a very small reminder about what the components are, we're going to work with the components tonight. Also, there is another lesson in YouTube. Yes, I remember we did a lesson in YouTube, a webinar about components, component set, and how to use them efficiently. Now, the components, as a small reminder, there are elements you can use and reuse across your design. It helps to create the consistency in your design across projects. Basically, you can create a component from any layer or object you have to design. We're talking about pictures, we're talking about whatever. We're going to work then with them. And the components can be a whole range of things like buttons, icons, layouts, and more. Now, the component set is a collection of related components with different variations or states. And for that, I believe that the perfect example that I could find was to create this little tiny animation, as you see in the text component and component set. Excuse me. We're talking here about the variation of color. So basically, it's the same name in 3 colors, and then you create animation with the triggers, right? So the set, that said, I think that we should start going to the next page. Next page. What we see here, I've created for us today. We have a lot of micro interactions that we can use in our apps. Now, I would like to work with you a little bit, some of them, maybe all of them. But why? In the end of our session, I would like for us to go over, I have here a few of the splash screens of my project, but it doesn't matter. The idea is that micro interaction is happening from the first click on the page, right? The user is clicking for the first time on the page, the micro interaction happens. This is where, as I said earlier, the user is already making up their mind. This is cool or not. I'm going to go further or not. Is loading too low, too fast, or too slower? That is where the decision is to go further on. So talking about the splash screens and how can we put some micro interactions there with animations, so we can keep the user clicking further on in our app. Now, I said a little bit earlier, micro animation and micro interaction animation. If you ask me about the difference between them, I think that you can have a micro animation with animation, but the animation doesn't have to be a micro interaction. Sorry, micro interaction can be an animation, but the animation it doesn't have to be a micro interaction. Anyway, we're going to start with the buttons first. So I would like to start with you first. in very simple, the simplest button. And I'm gonna look first of this sign in button. I'm calling it like a 3D button. Let's see how can we create this button. The way it's working, I want to show you first, is like this. It's very simple. I'm not clicking on it. I'm just going over it and I'm hovering, right? So this is a micro interaction that tells me, the user, I can click on this. Something is going to happen if I'm clicking on it. It's literally screaming like click on, right? That's why I said provides feedback, communicate status. All right, let's see. So first of all, first thing first, we cannot create something if it's not in a frame. I'm going to start with a frame. And I made this button from a rectangle. I'm going to give it 20 maybe. Maybe more than 20, yeah. Round corners. It works. And I'm going to give it a stroke. 2 or 3, I'm going to say 3. 3 is not 5. There you go. This is my button. Let's make it white. And let's put here signing. It can be anything, right? I believe the stroke can even be more than 5. All right, so now I have my button. If I'm thinking, what do I want for my button to do? Is jumping up, right? It means that I'm gonna have another layer under that black part. In order for me to make that layer, I'm gonna duplicate this one, make it black because it's black. And I'm gonna put it here on top, but it has to be under. And now it sits under, perfect. Just checking to see. Yeah. I would like here in the layers, I'm gonna rename this. I'm gonna say black, so we'll know exactly what color is that. So all right, now that I have this first one, I'd like to have it align. There you go. I'm gonna create the second part, and the second part, just a second, I need to move some stuff. All right, and the second part would be to create another frame. I'm gonna duplicate it, or usually I'm working with Alt and click, drag it down. So I have 2 frames now. But the second one, it has to show the action. What exactly is happening with my button? So with my button, from the second frame, my black one goes like this. So actually, I'm going to take the top one, and I'm going to put it that. It should be enough. All right, we have 2 frames without any connection for now. But if I'm going to select both of them, and I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to say create component set, is what we were talking earlier. We're talking about component set. As you see, I have this purple thing. I created 2 variants. It means that the first one has a variant, it has another way of being in the second one, right? Now it's easy for me to create an interaction. I'm going to the prototype, and from the prototype, I'm going to choose drag. Let's see, what do I want for my button to do? When I'm hovering over, I want for my button to pop. So I'm gonna go bouncy, and let's see, around 300 maybe. All right, while hovering, super. Let's see how it goes. I'm gonna duplicate, I'm gonna make a copy of the first one. So Alt, click, drag and drop. And with this one selected, I'm gonna go and check it out. Preview. So when I'm going over, the button pops, right? This is a very small interaction, perfect for, you know, the user to know that, hey, you can do something there. Cool. All right. I'm just gonna move them and beat them, and we're gonna go to another button. Let's see. Well, this one is a little bit more complicated. The same with the upload file. I'm going to show them to you, but I would like for us to work on this button because I've seen in a lot of projects, when you click the button, you just click the button. But how about letting the user know that the user can click the button? And I'm going to show you how, what am I talking about? So if I'm going over, I'm not even clicking on it. I know that I can click because the button is doing something. Something happens with the button, right? And then I can click it. Yes, okay. Then I can click it. So about the other ones, those are other types of micro interactions that are really nice to be done. Whenever I'm going with the cursor over, it tells the user, hey, click me. Once I'm clicking, I'm loading. And when I'm talking about loading, this is also something cool because we're talking about the loading screen, right? It communicates the status. The user is expecting for something to happen because he clicked that button, right? All right, and the second one, it's exactly the same. When you upload the file, you click on the file, something on the button, something happens and it's uploaded, right? Gives feedback to the user. Talking about the button, let's see. Again, what do we need for the button? So the button has 3 states, right? First is the way it is, default, and then what happens, something happens when you hover over, and then something happens when you press and click. Let's create one frame. First thing first, you're gonna see that it's kind of a pattern in everything. Everything starts with a frame. On the frame, you create the element that you want to animate, and then you you duplicate the frame with the element and you do something to the element, and that is the animation that happens, right? So let's create a button. This button, go, super. Corners, give it a color. It doesn't have to be. Now, the idea is that when you want to create the same button, it's good to keep consistency of the color, right? So you make it a little bit lighter and then a little bit darker and the darkest, or use the same color in different shades. It's keeping the consistency, and it's very easy for the user to know what to expect. Is the same button actually in different states, right? So, well, this time let's make it, I don't know, like blue, first one. And with the text, as I said, there button, I'm going to keep my text. Let's make it bold and maybe not 6, but 60. All right. I'm going to make it this one a little bit lighter, maybe. And I know I need another one, so I'm going to Alt click drag drop. Well, this one, as I'm heading here, when I'm hovering, it's getting a little bit darker, right? So this one I can keep the same text, everything stays the same. I can bring it a little bit darker. And then once I click on it, so I need another frame. Once I clicked on it, bam, magic happens. Something happened. And because I clicked on it, I'm also going to put, for example, a little bit of effects, maybe a shadow, or maybe a glow. Let's say shadow sounds good. I'm gonna put 10 and 10. Makes it move, right? 20. And give it a blur. Cannot see too much. So I'm gonna put 40 here. All right. So once I have all the frames created, this is the button with different stages. I'm gonna select all of them and I'm gonna go up here, create component set. I create a component set. It looks nice and pretty, 3 variants. Let's create the interaction. So from the first frame, from the first part, I'm gonna go on prototype. And what is happening? From the first part, when I want to hover over it, I would like to change into the next frame. And let's see. It is out. 300 or maybe 800. All right. Now, remember, I have this button in a default state. I'm hovering over. This one comes up, tells me that I can do something about it. Once I'm going to click on this, so once I'm going to click on it, that happens. Now, let's see how it works. My component set. I'm taking the first one, Alt click drag drop with what I selected. I'm gonna go to the prototype and let's see. So when I'm hovering over, it's changing the color exactly as I want. But when I'm clicking on it, something happens. Maybe it's better, see, you have to try it a couple of times. Not necessary is out, but maybe make it a little bit bouncy. I'm not sure how that is gonna look like. This is just to try it. It's not very obvious, but anyway, it looks like it was an interaction. There's a lot of triggers that you smart animations that you can play with and yeah, is out. So this is the button. It shows me 3 animations, three states of the button, right? All right, I'm gonna move forward because I would like to get with to you to the splash screens in the end to talk to you about it. We're talking about micro interactions for loading screens also. Usually the loading screens are providing the status of an action. Okay, well, as it happened here, click me, right? This one has multiple of them. I'm hovering over, the button pops up, I'm clicking on it, and it's loading. So I have the confirmation that something happens. It communicates the status. Same with what I created here. You're gonna see that, for example, the Tetris, this is how I call it. I also use it in one of my splash screens when it's loading, right? So this is what I'm saying. Keep the user engaged. Keep the user being curious, even through little tiny things like that. Don't make your design flat, right? You're not going in an app if it's not a little bit curious for you. So make the user curious. We can create this. It's a very simple micro interaction, or of course we can create a flower, we can create this glow, right? Like that. Simple. And also, in the beginning of my presentation, there were those 3 dots that are jumping and they are communicating something. It's loading. If we're, I'm going to make the Tetris one, I'm going to make it from 3 or 4 just to make it fast. Let's see. All right. Let's create frame. We have frame, and in the frame, I'm going to choose, I'm in prototype. There you go. I'm going to choose to have 1, and 2, 3. Let's make 4. I forgot to do something. There's no problem. I would like to have them aligned and round corners. 2 round corners, 20. Sounds good. All right. So now I have them. I'm going to start actually like this. All right. We're going to give 3 colors. It doesn't matter what kind of colors this time. I'm going to give one red. I'm going to give one yellow, kind of a yellow. All right. I'm going to give a green. And let's make this one blue. It's going to be very colorful, right? All right. So now that we created, we have to have 1, 2, 3, 4 because there are 4 movements. We're going to create another one. And we're going to say, okay, this one and this one, those are going down. Right. The next step, the next step is going to be the yellow moves aside, right? Oh, it's going to be more than 4. And I'm going to call this one again. The yellow is changing with green. I'm keeping shift pressed and I'm going with the arrows up. That's what I'm doing now. That's why it's moving so fast. All right. My green is going over blue. And then it's replacing blue. Yeah, we might have 5, need 5, but hey, we're going to stay like that. It's fine. All right. So we have the movement. Now we have to create the interaction. So select everything the same, component set. Bam. We have everything together. Everything belongs together. I'm going to go to prototype and I'm going to say the first frame. So I want for the first frame, I think everything is going to be after delay. After delay, make it, I don't know, fast, maybe 1. Not sure about it, but yeah, I think 1 is fine. So all of them are gonna be the same. After delay on 1. On 1 and ease out. It's good. In the end, when you're gonna see the splash screens, you're gonna see that actually everything makes sense. I like to create different interactions for each app that I'm working with because I'm kind of personalizing the interaction to the app and to the topic of the app, right? All right, so I'm going to take the first one and I'm going to drag drop, keeping Alt press, and I'm going to preview it. Oh, look at that. It stops. It stops here because, as you see here, my last frame doesn't have any interaction. So I'm going to take an interaction. I'm going to try to the first one. The same after delay, and I'm going to put 1 is out 300 is fine. Okay, let's check it out again. There you go. If there were 5, would have worked better as the other one because you know the number of the squares. But this is how it is. So this is how you do it. Again, it's the same thing over and over. You're creating different different variations of the same elements, and then you put them under the component set, right? All right. Let's move forward. We're talking about menu. I think that everyone knows how to create a menu. So that's why I'm not going to linger too much on this, but I'm going to show you some ideas of menu. Well, the first one is very simple. You have the menu. I know as a user, hey, this is where I'm going now. I'm going for the camera. I'm going for the, pen and so on and so forth. Another type of menu is this one. It's a little bit more complex. You're starting using, some pen, pencil, points, so you can give the shapes. It looks like this. Right. It takes more time. Again, it depends. This is amazing. It depends what is the app about. It depends what message do you want to send. It depends who's your target audience. For whom are you creating this one, right? As you see, my menu doesn't have any label. If I'm addressing to people over 60, 70, I don't know, maybe it's an app for like a pharmacy or something. They need more guidance. They need more, right? So think about for whom are you designing? What are you designing? What is the message that you want to convey in your design? Okay. Further on, search bar. Well, search bar, it's not mandatory to create micro interaction. It's good to create micro interaction, right? It's good to have this, like the French is saying, je ne sais quoi, something that the user can play with. And for example, this search bar, I made it like that. It's just like that, right? You can see I put a little bit of a shadow under, so but when I'm clicking, it opens up. It's very neat, it's very clean. It's something that me as a user, I'm thinking that was quite of a detail there in this. It's cool. I like it. I would go further on, search something, right? Let's see how do we do this search bar. Cool. Again, we start with frame for design. I have some notes here because I want to know, I have to put together what is in 1 hour, what can I tell you in 1 hour from everything? Because I put everything on the canvas here. And then I realized that there's so much to talk about that I have to prioritize a little bit the information. All right. So the search bar, this starts, I mean, this is how I'm designing this kind of stuff. It starts backwards because I'm thinking I have something small that becomes something big. So how about having it big so I can make it small after? Cool. So it doesn't matter the background. Really doesn't. I'm gonna change it. I'm not gonna make it that color. Let's give it like this kind of color. All right. You can put a gradient. That's cool too. All right. So how do I want for my whole thing to look like? It's going to be a search bar. Let me zoom in. All right. Round corners, round them up as much as you can. It's a search bar. 46, 162, 300. I don't care. It's pretty much the roundest that I can get. It looks pretty. And I have here some resources, not to waste time and just look for it. So what I need from here, I'm having my, oh no, not all of them. I'm having my magnifier. I'm just going to drop it here and close button here. There you go. All right. I'm making room. That's why I'm doing. So my search bar is going to be white. And my search bar is going to have this magnifier, but I'm going to make it small, small. I'm keeping shift press so I can keep my my side. Oh no, it's way too big. I'm gonna make it smaller, maybe like that. And the close button, it's gonna be here. Close button, it's a little bit too bulky. Oh no. So maybe not even 8. Remember when you create something, try to keep the consistency within the buttons and within the icons. And as you see here, the search icon, the magnifier has a pretty fine line. So I'm trying to recreate this, maybe 3 for the close button. All right. Consistency is the key. You don't want to kill the eye of the user. All right, so there you go. This is it. And I'm going to put the text. I'm going to put search ... I'm going to put it a regular, maybe light, it doesn't matter. Give it a 30. This is not very important for now. All right, so this is how I want for it to look like. So I'm going to create another frame. I'm going to drop it here. And let's see. With Alt press, I'm going to bring everything together until it's going to become a circle. Where am I going to look if it becomes a circle or not? I'm going to look in the right panel when I'm having where I'm having my design settings here. And I'm going to put the same 132. This is a perfect circle. But remember, this perfect circle is going to open up, right? Then I'm going to start and bring in my magnifier. I'm going to center it. And I'm going to bring in my search button, search text, sorry. And this search text has to become very, very small. I press K. That means that I'm going to scale it very small here in the middle. And I'm also going to make it pretty much invisible 0. So from 0, small, it's going to become big once I'm going to interact with it, right? And I'm going to do the same for X. I'm going to bring it on. I'm keeping Shift pressed so I can keep the horizontal line with it. And K to scale it small in the middle here. And I'm going to make it 0. You have to see it. All right, so I have this one. When I'm going to interact, it's going to open up. This is what I want to do, right? Let's see. Select both of them. Excuse me, components. Let's create the interaction. Prototype. So from the first one, I would like when I'm clicking, I think it's clicking, yes. When I'm clicking, I want to go, excuse me, I cannot see, there you go. I am gonna go on, not custom screen. I'm gonna go here. And I'm gonna give it this look. Smart anime. Yeah. And I think it's 300, yeah. 1000 to make it not as fast. All right, let's see how that looks. I'm gonna copy only the first one, Alt, drag drop, and it's like that. This is the interaction that I created. Now, if I want to make it even cooler, so I didn't do that, I can give a little bit of drop a shadow. This is 10, then 10, and give it a blur. Remember that you have to do the same thing for this one, right? It's good to do it before you copy, so you can have consistency, not to be wrong in something you're gonna see when you're gonna interact with it. And 20. Right. Cool. It came up here. Let's see how it looks like. I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger. That is, and it happens like this, when you're going again, after you created a component, after you created the interaction, animation, and everything, you're starting modifying, and you're not modifying. It's good to create it already with everything, and then you're going to duplicate, then modify them, exactly as I said a little bit earlier. Now it's working, so it takes a little bit of time. I think it looks very cool. It looks very, very neat, and me as a user, I would be impressed, right? Remember, we're empathizing with them. What do you like to see? What would you like to see, right? When you go in an app, when you go in an app, in a website, put yourself in their shoes. All right, let's keep going. we don't have much time, but mm, mm, mm. Um, the box, the box, it's the same as the button. You're creating the box in 3 states. Let's see how that looks like. So I have the box. Even when I'm hovering over, when I'm going over, hovering over, it's doing something. If I'm keeping it pressed, it's blurry. But if I'm clicking, I have the check mark. Let's do this very fast, right? So we're talking about frame, and we're creating the square. Fair and square. Let's see. And I want for my square to be empty, but I'm gonna give it a stroke. I'm gonna take away the color and I'm gonna put 20 on the corners. Nah, I'm gonna put 30 on the corners. There you go. And I'm gonna stay with black borders there. Let's keep it black, stroke. All right, now this is my default state. I'm gonna create another one and I'm gonna say when I want, it's very easy if I have a lot of notes here. It's very easy. This is my UX UI notebook, right? I cannot work without it. I cannot, because I have ideas, and every time when I'm having an idea, I'm going there. It's very easy. For example, if you want to visualize this, and maybe some people are more visual than others, right? But if you're not as visual as others, I consider myself visual, but still I need some sketches and some drawings. I'm making the square, I'm putting down an arrow, and I'm going to say hovering, because in my head I want to hover over and something happen. And then when you have this filled in, because you're hovering, right? So this one is going to be filled in now. Let's put the peel off, I don't know, this. So I'm going to make the border, the stroke red. I'm gonna make it like that. All right. So once I'm gonna hover over, I want to have that to tell the user, okay, something is going to happen. Perfect. So I'm gonna create another one. After I'm hovering over, I would like for the user to press, not click. The difference is to keep it pressed, and then when you click, you release the finger, right? So when the user is gonna press, I want for this particular box to have an effect of layer blur. There you go. We're going to blur it a little bit, right? There you go. It's a little bit blurry. So that means that the user is okay to keep going and click on it. Next one is click. I'm going to take away this blurry stuff. And I'm going to fill it in with, I'm gonna do like this. My apologize. Red by definition means the no-no. So I cannot give an okay to user when I'm using the color red. That was my poor choice, but I got it fast. All right, so it's green. It's cool. It's green, right? So the next state, it means that, well, I can bring, I pulled out some here, Shift or K to scale it, and I'm just gonna throw it here, it's a little bit too small. And I'm gonna make it a very dark. Not too dark, but kind of like that. Cool. So the user has the okay that after hovering, after pressing, the click was done. That came, right? Let's see how this works. We set it. Now let's do it. I have 4 frames. Create component set. Components that created. I'm going to take the first one. I'm going to go to the prototype, and as we said, this is not going to be, it's going to be a result. All right, it's going to be hover over. While hovering, it's changing to the second one. Yeah, it's going to be result not 1000 by 300. 300. All right. Now, once I'm hovering over, this comes up. If I'm pressing, right, while pressing, something is going to happen again. And while clicking, I have the last confirmation while clicking. Cool. Let's drag drop without press. Here, with this one selected, I'm gonna go and see what I did. I'm hovering over, super. Well, this was the plan, right? I mean, I have hovering here, I have pressing and clicking. So I'm hovering, and if I'm keeping pressed, I'm not clicking, my finger is still on the mouse, right? I'm having this, and then if I'm clicking, hey, this happened. So my action was successful. This is the feedback as a user. Cool. So again, as you see, while choosing the colors, instinctual, while choosing the colors, I had to change the red. Everything is important. I had to change the red because for me, red is a no-no. It's an action that cannot be taken, right? And I had prepared the icon for check. So, so that is that. This is the checkbox, single checkbox, but interactive. Please create prototypes with interactions. When you have a prototype, and you already have a user flow because you're ready to prepare it for testing. Is it working? It's not working. Prepare it with everything for the user to have the feeling that goes in a real app, that is literally interacting with something only there in that link, but something that is, it looks and feels like a real app. This is very important. If you have cards that are scrolling horizontally, make them scroll horizontally. If you have the app scrolling vertically, make it like that. It's very important because the feedback is not necessary that the user is giving. It's not necessary only on the user flow. Believe me, it's overall look, overall feel is that moment when it's opening the app. The user is opening the app. It's that very moment when their brain already made up their mind. They know, they already have an idea, you know, an opinion about the app. It's something that we cannot stop. This is how we are. And they did. So let's keep going a little bit more. We're almost done, but I'm gonna do this. Boom. All right, the toggle. The toggle. I would like to just show you the toggle button. Toggle button. Well, it has something. It's remember the settings or remember the password. Yes. Did you read the agreement? Yes. But as you see, when it's moving, it has this oval pool. You know, it's just something that maybe it's not as important because after all, you want for the user to accept or not something. But it's something that for me as a user, again, I would like to see that. And I'm gonna just, I have everything created here. This is where I did my work. That's why you're seeing them there. As you see, the toggle has all 4 states. And if I'm looking in the prototyping, you're gonna see that one of them is after delay is going to the second one. So no, sorry, this one, you're clicking to this one after delay is changing, but I made something to show that, I don't know, something artistic, something, that's why we're designers, you know, to just come up with ideas or come up, this is where I work my stuff. So that being said, almost time. We're talking about cards. Now, it's good to have a lot of interaction. It's good to have interaction that makes sense on the design, the app that you're creating. Don't overwhelm the user with everything interactive for the user to feel that he's in the discotheque, because it's not. But it's very important to guide the user. It's very important to keep him there, the retention, right? The feedback that the user have for the app, for the user to come back or recommend your app. So I made a food cart. You can make any type of cards. You can make music. You can create interaction everywhere. Now let's see, this food cart is like that. So when I'm going over the card, something happens, right? It's very cool. It's very cool because, for example, if I'm looking at this card and if I'm saying it in a recipe book, as I was thinking when I was creating it, those are out of context, but I'm just saying, I see that something happens because I put a little bit of a shading under, right? So I'm gonna go and see what exactly is happening there. And I have the play button. That means I have a video, apple pie, recipe time 40 minutes, whatever. But it's a kind of a zoom effect, right? Let's see how we can do this very fast. Again, we're talking about creating components, this time with pictures. The picture sits on a frame. I'm going to the frame. I'm using plugins on Splash. And we're waiting. Come on, Splash. There you go, thank you. What do we want to eat tonight? Pumpkin pie. I'm all about pies. Yeah, the spelling is wrong, but all right, this one looks cool. Maybe. Super, I have my pumpkin pie. And I'm gonna, because this is the card, then I'm gonna put it there. I'm gonna give some round corners to make it pretty. That's good. 50. Super. Remember, I gave 50 to the corners. That means I'm gonna give 50 to this one. Actually, I can make it, can bring it lower in the frame. Maybe not. 50 here. I'm rounding the corners to the bottom, right? Because this is what I need. Super. Now, this one I wanted to make it a little bit transparent, make it a little bit cool, looking like a 50 maybe, see-through. Yeah. It's not sitting in a frame, so I'm gonna put everything in a frame because I started with a rectangle and I want no field for the frame. Super. There you go. So this is text, pumpkin pie. How big the orange would be? Yeah, not much of a visibility there. So 64 is too big. 40. And I want to make bold. Pumpkin pie. Again, I started to create the design from the point of how do I want for it to look like, and then I'm going to hide everything so I can make it the way I want. You're going to see. I have to create a little bit this one. Lower, lower. And I want for my friend to have also 50. Nice. Pumpkin pie, and then time would be, oh, we have to give a time or not necessary. Let's say 40 minutes. My bad, my bad. On 100. And I want to make it regular. I'm not going to linger too much on the writing as I want my purpose is to show you the animation and the interaction, right? But 40 is too big. All right, and we have the play button. Now, I would like to put something, an effect. layer background blur. So I want to blur, make the background blurry a little bit under that stripe. Not too blurry so we can see something there. There you go, pretty. And maybe this one, make it in 40. Looks good. Let's create a button and I'm going to give it 50 to make it to around 40. All right, the button stays here. And I'm going to see, the fill is okay, but I'm going to make the layer on 60. 80 is better. And I want to give it an effect, a little bit of a shadow. Shadow looks good. Let's say 8 and 8 and blur it a little bit. See, it looks up a little bit. For me, I don't know, that looks cool. It's a little bit too big, it's a little bit too white. It's a little bit too round. Oh, 20 is fine. I'm just gonna drop it a little bit. I'm trying to keep the consistency from nothing to just scream at us. All right, and I have here my button. No, I don't have a button. But plugins, iconography here. Play button. I'm gonna make it small. Just throw it there in the. Something like that. And I'm gonna group this to keep it together to be sure that Command G, Command R, Control R, it depends where you are, and I'm gonna set button. Button because I need to move it now. All right, so this is how I want for it to look like. I'm gonna create another frame. And the cool part is now, actually that's the first frame. With this first frame, what I want for that to happen, this one is gonna drop. The first frame is not gonna have this. So I'm going with the page down, the arrow down, I'm gonna just hide it. It's still there, it's still in the frame, but I'm not gonna see it. I'm gonna see it once I'm gonna interact with it. So this is how my pumpkin pie looks like, right? When I'm gonna interact, the stripe comes up and I want to have a zoom a little bit on the image. So I'm going here on the frame, I'm having the right setting, a panel in the right hand image. I'm gonna see the image here, and instead of fill, I'm gonna crop it. As you see, it's bigger than my frame, which is perfect. I'm gonna keep shift press so I can have the ratio respected. And I'm gonna do it like this. So when I'm gonna create the interaction, select both of them. Create component set. I have the component set. I'm gonna drag only one. First one, this is from where the interaction starts. So I have it. Oh no, wait, because I didn't create interaction. No one told me anything. All right, so when I'm hovering, yeah, when I'm hovering over, while hovering, that happens. Yeah. I think that's 300 might be too slow, but hey, let's see. Actually, I'm gonna make it gentle and I'm gonna put it 400. Let's see how that looks like. We have to try it out. Okay, I'll drag drop. I have it here. Preview. All right, so this is my card. Oh, that looks cool. I'm gonna put the card on a frame so we can see it even better. Command C, I'm sorry. There you go. So I'm having the frame and then I'm gonna, there you go. So we can see it better. Of course, we can lift it up a little bit, right? We can put something under. That looks very cool. The stripe at the bottom is not very strong. Maybe I'm gonna put a bigger contrast there, but you created an interaction on the card. Now, if I want to change the color of the stripe at the bottom, or if I want to make it a little bit stronger, remember that you're not changing only here, because then you're not going to have something cool showing up. You have to change it where it's hidden to. And in order to see it, you just select the first one, and you're having it here bottom. Even if you don't see it, you can, with the arrow up, you can bring it up all the time whenever you want to change something. And you're modifying it, but you have to do the same change at the second one. Cool. So this is how you animate and you create micro interaction with the cards. Now, because we're at the end of our session, I would like to show you the importance of creating micro interactions, and I'm so pro for this in the splash screens, right? The splash screen is the first screen that pops up when you open, for example, a mobile app, right? Those are only few of my projects, but all the projects I'm trying to personalize them with a very cool splash screen. As you see here, now, as you saw there, on this one is the bus on time. This is a project done in Open Bootcamp. And it was really nice to do it. It was intriguing for me because I had a hard time creating the splash screen. The splash screen for me, for example, it's a ticket, but I created the Tetris loading screen because I believe that everyone is playing something while waiting for the bus, while in the bus, and so on and so forth. So for me, in my head, that loading screen is pretty much connected with the bus, right? Bus on time, it's an app about bus and so on and so forth. So this is what I'm trying to tell you, that it's very good to have the consistency in everything when creating that app from the beginning till the end. Another splash screen, this one is here. This one, you can find it also in my portfolio, is Handy Match. It's an app in which you can go and find a handy match, handy person for whatever problem you have in the house. So what you see, that wheel actually was only half of it, and it was a PNG with I had to create it to make it round, and I had to animate it in the same way that I show you. But you're animating only a picture, and you just dragging and dragging and dragging in the same direction, and create the animation. And that's why it looks like the way it looks, because I wanted to make a connection of this first splash screen with the app and what's behind it, right? So here the micro interaction is it's a hover over the button, tells to the user, hey, let's start. It's also visual, it's also text. So then you go further on and log in and whatever you need to do, right? So again, the splash screen is very important. Also another project from Open Bootcamp. During my time in Open Bootcamp, nope, too fast. It's fine. It's splash screen. It has supposed to go fast. The loading here, Nosh, we're talking about food. We're talking about a smarter way to cook, and that's why I decided to make it like little tiny, like a flower that is loading. And as you see, I try to keep the consistency with the color palette and everything within the app, right? So again, when you're creating something, try to connect it with the app. Further on, it's another, I think everyone saw this kind of animation, and I use it for the splash screen. Localize is for, it's a guide. And as you see here, I use the component set to make it fun, to make it interactive, to keep the user. Of course, this is only an animation. There's no micro interaction there, but I'm trying to keep the user engaged, right? I choose that ball as a splash screen because I believe that it's pretty, it's talking a lot with what's the app about. And the latest one, the last one, I'm not gonna keep you more. It's an app very dear to me. You're also going to find it in my portfolio, is Vega Verde with dill with veggies. Well, this time the loading is formed from leaves. leaves that I can find also in my logo. Again, I'm trying to connect the first thing that comes up with what's behind it. You know, you want to be curious, to make the user curious, and that's what we're trying to do. So this is what I have for you for today. I'm sorry for keeping you over, but I believe that after this session, you kind of get the idea why it's so important to create micro interactions, why it's so important to have little tiny presents for the users, and not to give further on to show you know, a project that has like a prototype that is flat is I believe that it should be more than that, right? It should feel and look and exactly as I said earlier, like a real app. Now, if you have any questions for me, I don't know if someone has any questions, or I'm ready to listen. Manish?
Yeah, I don't think anyone is posting any questions, but if anyone does have questions, you all can unmute and ask, or if you're a little shy, you can also reach out to Joe on LinkedIn and connect and directly ask on a personal message as well. Just to end the webinar, if you enjoyed it, do check out our bootcamp at uxuiopen.com and feel free to join a community. And more importantly, feel free to reach out to Joe on LinkedIn. You can always just look up Joe on LinkedIn, and I'm sure Joe will pop up on the first few search results. And yep, have a good weekend ahead, everyone. Glad
Nice
you all
having you all,
this.
and thank you, Manish, for hosting us. And I hope you guys get in touch with me on LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to, if I can look over some prototypes, if I can come up with ideas, my pleasure.
Thank you. It was really helpful.
I'm happy to hear that. Have a nice weekend, y'all.